Let me ask you guys something. Do I look like a racist? I'm being serious. Because I think that I must look like a racist, and I'll tell you why. This video is actually inspired by a social media post that I saw by somebody who also happened to be from Michigan, from a rural part of Michigan. And they described a situation that I have found myself in many times. And a lot of those times I felt like maybe I was just imagining it. But I saw in the comments section that there were a lot of people from Michigan and from other places who have experienced the exact same thing. And the situation that I'm talking about, I'm gonna call it the racist test. At this point, I've lost count of how many times this racist test has been performed on me. And the craziest part is, normally when I'm out fishing, I'm wearing a camera on my head, and I think that if I weren't filming, this test would be happening even more often than it already does. Now, what is the racist test? Well, the racist test occurs when I meet somebody for the very first time, typically when I'm out fishing. And somewhere in our first conversation, they make a comment that is subtle, but still overtly racist, basically just to test my reaction to what they're saying and find out if I'm a racist and if it's safe for them to be a racist with me. Allow me to give you a couple of examples. I can recall a time fairly recently where a gentleman came up to me while I was fishing. It was the first time we had ever met, and the conversation started out pretty normal, you know, having any luck, that type of thing. And then he made a comment pretty early in the conversation to just say that, yeah, there were some black people here fishing earlier. And he said it with that kind of tone as if, you know, he didn't really like the fact that there were some black people fishing in that spot earlier. And it's pretty subtle in that he didn't say anything specifically negative about black people. He just kind of used a tone and was trying to gauge my reaction. And that example right there of the racist test is probably the most common one that I've been faced with, and it's not always black people. There was another time where an older gentleman came up to me while I was fishing on a pier and mentioned to me that earlier that day the pier was loaded with Japs. He called them Japs. I'm sure they were just Asian Americans that were fishing on the pier, and that bothered him for some reason. So the racist test continues to happen to me, even though I'm wearing a camera on my head. And I think it must be because I look like I'm a racist. And I've come to the realization that despite taking this test many times, I have consistently failed the racist test. Obviously, I don't respond back with a racist comment or anything like that, but typically my reaction when I undergo the racist test is to kind of shrug it off, dismiss it, and just let it go. And even though I didn't engage directly in the racism that was taking place, I just let it go. And for that reason, I have failed the racist test consistently. And the evidence of my failure is all around me. We now live in a country where it is now much safer than it was in the past to just be overtly racist. Going forward, when I'm faced with the racist test, my camera will stay on. You might make an appearance in one of my videos, and I'm going to ask you to your face if you're a racist. I'm going to ask you why you have a problem with black people fishing in the same spot where you're fishing. That's what I'm going to do. And just in case it isn't clear, I think being a racist is a despicable, abhorrent thing to be, and it requires a weak moral fiber and low intelligence. And if you could let me know in the comments what traits I have that make me look like a racist so that I can change them, I'd appreciate it. Thanks for watching.